How's it going, guys? Web dev newbie here. Just coming back with another video on the rocks being body parts, at least some of them. And in the last video on the stones crying out, I showed you some of my rock collection, and I told you that the Lord was going to show me what body parts some of them are, and I do think that that has happened. So I'm here to make a video to show you what the Lord showed me about some of these rocks. So I think a lot of the agates and the material that is this 7 on the hardness scale, it's called either chalcedony, it can be called quartz rock. It's all pretty much made of the same thing at its base level molecule, which is this very hard microcrystalline quartz structure that typically makes the stone about a 7 on the Mohs hardness scale. So the first one I'm going to show you is what's called the Dendritic Agate. So right here where the mouse is pointing, this particular pattern right here, I do think could very likely be the cerebellum from the cerebellum of the brain. This right over here in this picture. So let me pull up some images here of the cerebellum, and we're going to put them next to some images of dendritic agate. So there's a sort of a drawing of what the cerebellum looks like. Let me go ahead and get a close-up on this one right here. Looks pretty good. And a close-up on this one right here on the cerebellum. Okay. I like this one quite a bit. What you're going to notice on this, and it's also can be, you could call it a Lichtenberg pattern as well. It very much resembles that. But when you look at the structure of the cerebellum in cross section here, they're really very, very similar. In fact, I do have some dendritic agate pictures here that are pretty darn close. So here's a dendritic agate that was cut into slices, slabbed into a slice, and then now you can see the cross section. Kind of like you're seeing the cross section of the brain here on the left. Let me try to make that a little bigger so we can maybe just get a better side-by-side here. And what you'll notice here is if you actually even count these arms, you can basically dang near put them right on top of each other. So I'll let you guys just look at that for a little bit, but the structure is very similar, and so that's why I think the Lord's showing me that this is the body part that these things represent. So this agate here, I mean, it's basically a fluid-filled, like if this theory is correct, then this whole agate here would have been like the fluid-filled sac of the brain. And then it's either being flash frozen into this crystal structure, you know, with the glittering sword, or it's over time being through transition minerals being replaced after the Great Flood. Either way, it's from the Great Flood, is what I think. But either way, it's being transformed into this rock, I think. It has been transformed into that. That's a pretty good picture right there. That's one of the better ones. This one, you can see it quite a bit as well. So yeah, I think that the dendritic, what they call the dendritic, here's an agate that is basically what they call a thunder egg as well. Oftentimes these thunder egg balls, they're often in the shape of a ball or an oval type shaped ball that can be filled with, either it can have a pocket of crystals inside with hollowness, or it can just be completely filled with potentially agate material, chalcedony, jasper, things like that. So I think what it is the brain, when it breaks apart, it's breaking apart into these different pieces is what it is. And that's what you're finding here, is broken apart pieces of, now sometimes you can find them fully intact. I don't yet know exactly what the balls are, but I do think I know what these folds of the brain up here look like. So I'll show you that one next. Bear with me here. I do have a lot of pictures open, so I'm going to... So what I believe these brain folds up here on the top of the brain would more correlate to would be these polyhedroid agates. Now this one in this picture has been shaved down, so this rock has been worked. You wouldn't find it typically in this condition like this. It's going to have a lot of material around it, and I believe what you're seeing with all these bands is this is the brain. These are layers of the brain. So let me pull up some pictures of a rock that I have personally. I do think this is also a brain part here as well, the one that we're looking at right there. I do think that this is some sort of a brain part, and I do think that this material itself, this quartz material / chalcedony, whatever you want to call it, I think it goes throughout whatever the brain is made of. Other parts of the body are also made of it, such as the nervous system that goes throughout your entire body. So that's potentially what they're finding when you say a vein of quartz or a vein of this or a vein of that, that you're, depending on the size of the Nephilim, if it was a massive giant, then its veins and its brain and everything are going to be really huge. And so therefore you're going to find, these larger sized body parts that have broken down into pieces. And then, so this is the one I wanted to show you here. And I'm going to put this next to an image, which is the one that spurred me to make this video for you. And it was this right here, because I was looking at this, and like I told you, I knew the Lord was going to show me what it was, and sure enough he did when I was looking at this picture right here. And what we're seeing on the right here, that with this rock that I found, this agate, this banded agate, is you're seeing just a piece of the brain. See, so these folds that are on the outside of the brain, see how they're like they've got like that square kind of shape to them, but they still are a little bit rounded as well. It's kind of like exactly what you're seeing in cross section here. And so what this rock would be one of these pieces, these folds broken off, at a break point, some sort of a break point. Common, there's probably, and this is what as you go out and find these things more and more too, you do start to see patterns and things in them. So there's common break points on a lot of these things as well. But it could have been any one of these folds, and see, any one of these different folds at the different break points could represent the different types of agates. So for example, over here, you might see a beautiful agate that has bands that go like this all the way around all three of these. If this three pieces were able to stay intact and the break point was right here along this piece, Or rather, what you might find more commonly are going to be these smaller breakpoint pieces. Okay? But over here, you know, you could put you can put this image right here, right next to one of these, and you can really see. And so these bands, what you're seeing is these are the layers of the brain. That's how it's layered, apparently. And this is just a stock image that I found, but also shows that what they call that polyhedral banding. But it's just a piece of a brain. That's what it really is. Okay, I hope you guys could see that. See the same thing I'm seeing on that one. Again, something like this. Now this would be like where's the attachment point? See, this would have been a cross section of a thunder egg, I believe, in this image right here. So this is not mine. This is one I downloaded, and so I think that, you know, these thunder eggs, there's something else. They're pieces of the brain, I believe, that break off as like a ball almost, or something resembling a ball. So there are different pieces of the brain that break off, but they all end up as this material right here. This same type of material, and you'll see the similar banding patterns because it's all made of the same kind of stuff, and it's all been built, you know, in all its glory by our Lord. Okay, so we'll move on, and I'll just show you, I guess, a couple more images of that, what I would call a piece of brain of a Nephilim giant. You know, this would have just been a very small part of his brain. His brain would have been huge. I suppose the size of a, let's say, at least a basketball. Well, bigger than that. It would have to be, you know, the size of a large beach ball, maybe, something like that. Okay, let's move on to the next. And as I was telling you, know, with the brain, there's going to be all these different pieces. So you could very well, like I said, have these balls, potentially this anterior pituitary lobe, and this posterior pituitary lobe would be. Do apologize, guys. You know, these could each be balls, or these twofers, these connected pieces that you might find that could be fused together in some of the specimens. Some of them, they're apart. This could be very well these thunder eggs right there. Because we don't know how populated the Earth was back before the flood, the Great Flood. I mean, it could have been in the many, many billions easily, or more even than it is nowadays in terms of all of the humans and of different sizes and everything. We just really don't know. But so we're just having to kind of put together the pieces using the evidence that we have. Excuse me. All right, well, let's, I'm going to show you, we'll stick on the brain topic here before I move on to the heart, and then I'll wrap up the video. So I do believe this one, I found this as a whole, intact rock, and I do think this is yet again one of these pieces. It would be, you know, potentially a pituitary lobe. It's got this 2 bumps and then even a 3rd bump down here, kind of. And I don't think this has been really river tumbled much. I think this was like a fully complete intact piece potentially right here, and it's a good one. It's got more of what they call the saginite. It's got more of like the saginite kind of thing going on inside of it, and so I do think that's also related to just being one of these other body parts here, whether it be the thalamus, the hypothalamus. I mean, there's a lot of different ones. So it would take maybe somebody with a little bit better eye, further investigation on some of these different rocks to be able to start pinning them down as to like which is which body, exactly which body part. Okay, and then I've got this one. I found this rock right here. This has the polyhedral banding. I do believe this would just be, you know, part of the brain, of course. Now this one happens to have this, you know, actual pattern. And I do see this as a repeating, this one right here, I've seen this as a repeating out in the wild quite a bit. So I do think that this particular rock is a certain body part that we could really be able to identify and always be able to say, oh yeah, this is such and such part of the brain. I don't know exactly which one yet. But I don't think this is just a normal fold, or maybe this would be one of these square folds on the outside that then breaks off as a piece. That could be what we're looking at. Hard to say exactly. Need some more study on that one. There it is again, just flipped in the other direction. And you can kind of see this outside layer right here. So this one has these outside layer pieces on it. So it's more of a, again, just more of a pattern-ish, identifiable rock, I think, in my opinion, this particular one. So keep your eye out for that. This was the one I thought was potentially a thalamus, hypothalamus, something like that. They commonly have this bump on the end, so that's another one of those patterns. I do think this is some kind of a half brain right here. The half brain of maybe the top piece, maybe all these other pieces have separated and broken apart, and they're no longer part of this. You know what I mean? And then there was this one here, which I also think is nervous system / brain material of some sort. This could potentially be, these are more rare, and this could be potentially an identifiable thing or piece, because this has this really interesting layer on the back of it, which is pictured right here. And to me, this one just screams biological brain part, body part, something. So just wanted to show you that. I'll get through maybe, yeah, I guess I'm done with the brain pictures for now, guys. So we'll move on to the heart, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. This one I think is another piece of the brain right here. When you see this, what they call botryoidal or botryoidal formation, or this also one has a what you'd call druzy on the inside. It kind of glistens and gleams at you with these kind of microcrystals, but they're kind of rounded off. They're not like spiky. They're kind of more rounded. But you know, so it's druzy is what you would call that. But this again, brain part, I think, right there. Okay. And then I'm going to move on to this heart specimen and show you some side-by-side action with this one. Okay, so this is a really good side-by-side, and then we'll look at the picture after that. But right here is a really good side-by-side. So you can see the similarities from this angle specifically. I was able to just find this image on the left online. I just typed in human heart and I was looking for images. And as you can see, all the arteries and everything have been removed, and it's just really kind of the heart itself without everything attached, which is kind of like how this rock is. And I mean, you can practically just put one right on top of the other almost. I mean, you've got this large opening right here, which you can see this flap of meat, flesh is covering in this image. This would just kind of be all part of that helical heart system. But obviously this has been petrified into stone and quartz rock, and so this is but you can see, and then I'll show you the images on, this is also from a similar angle, this drawing, but it actually lists the different parts, and then you can identify those on top and kind of correlate those to the pictures here. But you've got this right atrium, you've got this left atrium, so this would be your large right atrium, and that piece again popped off. There's, that is out in the wild somewhere. But it was here, but it all kind of separates at these different break points. Okay, so just kind of take a look at this for a little bit, guys. I mean, this is pretty close stuff right here, and then I'll pull that drawing back up here in a minute and make it bigger. So I think that's a pretty good demonstration of what I'm talking about, because the helical heart, you can see this, how the meat kind of folds over, it wraps around is what it really is doing. It's twisting and wrapping around in a circle, I guess you could say, or a vortex. And that's what that's why this piece on the right on the rock is a different color from what's on the left here. It's just like you're seeing in the image over there. It's just the way that whatever happened to it when it petrified, you can clearly just see the difference in the layers is what we're seeing there. Okay, let's look at this in a little bit bigger now, just so we can identify the different openings. So this right here can give you a pretty good idea. If you kind of just take this rock and kind of flip it down into the left a little bit, and I'll show you some of the other pictures. This would be on the side here. This is kind of from the back, flipped upside down from what you just saw. But this gives you some good images of the other side, the back side of this heart specimen. This flood fossil. Kind of give you a look at some of the vein layers and everything, vein and arteries and fascia and fatty tissue that was on there, and muscle. I mean, it's all mixed together. The nerves, they're all in there. It's the most electrical organ in the body as well, so that's why it's also, I believe, full of the quartz material and everything. It's quite an amazing thing. Now let me see, is there anything else I need to show you here? Yeah, we can put this also, blow this up a little bit. This gives you that cross section on the inside, which, if I was to slice this rock open, now these chambers would have been filled with fluid basically and then petrified in that way. So typically this would be a solid. There's not going to be most likely not going to be an air pocket inside there. But you would expect to find something very similar to a cross-section of this. If you were to take a cross-section of it, you would. And I think from the outside, it's clear that that is what you would find on the inside. Now, someday, I might cut this open. I might keep this and try to find another specimen to cut open, because this is such a good one. I don't know if I actually want to cut it or not yet. But if I do, I will certainly document every moment, and then triple back up that documentation, that video, for sure, if I was to slice this one down. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I just wanted to share that with you. I just wanted to show you what I was shown and give you that information, and I do hope that you all have a great day, night, week, month, year. Keep in prayer. There's a lot of bad stuff going down, and I just want you guys all to be strong with your faith. Thank you very much. Have a good one.